We're going to be joined in a minute by Nomiki Konst and we're going to talk about reactionaries. I think Kirsten Sinema, honestly, is a reactionary herself because we have reactionaries on all sides. Oh, Nomiki is here. Nomiki Konst, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey,
Morning. Hi, Rebecca. Hey, Ben. This is like such a great pleasure in the morning. You forced me to get out of my yoga clothes. I just got to say that.
No problem. That's
I know that's right.
You
Power
could have came
move.
you could have came in your yoga clothes. That's totally fine. But you know that would be a thing on Twitter. Then all of a sudden that would be something that we have to talk about on Twitter. But let's
another thing we'd have to talk about on Twitter. Ben, come on.
Exactly. We don't need anything more. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it from the bottom to the top to the bottom. There is a reactionary movement. And I call it the pan-reactionary movement because I think it's global. And what we're seeing there's a coalition of, and I want to say reactionaries again, people who have this reaction to this system. They have this position that they don't want progress, and they have their particular demographic that they target, particular demographic that they blame. There's a number of ways of defining it, but they're coalescing. And what I'm seeing, and I'd like to know what you see, I'm seeing people who normally would be enemies being allies. For example, on the international stage, we talk about this all the time. The far right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu being in league with Christian evangelicals who, at the core of it, don't have they have this relationship with Israel, but for their own purposes. We're seeing those kind of alliances take place all around the world, but especially in media. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I mean, movement building is about building. It's about growing your movement. And sometimes that means you have to pull from another movement. We're not as used to that here because we don't have, 5 different parties, but I think it's something that folks are really used to, these coalitions, at least from a party sense, pretty much everywhere but here in the world that has in a quote unquote democracy. So, I think the idea is not foreign to a lot of people. I think what's particularly concerning right now is you're seeing this happen globally, where in places where 2 parties have been dominant, or the establishment has been, whatever their version of an establishment party is, they're weakened, especially if they're a neoliberal democratic, quote unquote, like left center establishment. And you're seeing young people, not as willing to engage with them. And also simultaneously, these establishment groups, these center left establishment groups, similarly like not interested in like aligning with them, which is a great move on their part. So, be the Democratic Party. It would be, I'm in Puerto Rico right now, it would be like the Commonwealth Party here, or, it would be Macron's party, or it would be, but a lot of them will have like a figure that's really popular, kind of keeping that force together. But there's an opportunity, right? And as you're seeing the left grow at an astronomical rate globally, the ideas of the left are becoming more and more popular, whether or not folks identify with it. I think there is a strategic opportunity for the right wing and capital interests to come in and try to disrupt that. And until we as a movement collectively understand that we are in warfare to keep our coalition growing, which it is, we have to be they're going to do all they can to divide and conquer us, to try to split us up so they can build their coalition. Their coalitions.
Let me unpack. Let's expand the conversation there, right? Because this is happening on multiple levels. We see this happening in terms of our global alliances. We really do see a fundamental shift and potential shift in the alliances that we see on the global stage, but we're also seeing it in national politics. We see the split that Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin present in the Democratic Party, which keeps us from getting just a modicum of progress, right? But they serve a similar role of dividing and conquering. And we see that same split in media. We see that split all the way down to social media. Talk about it from the national level, from the national point of view, where right now, essentially, this idea of bipartisanship has become the very tool that is used to divide and conquer any progress. Did we lose Nomiki?
I'm here. I'm sorry. That was my fault. There was a leaf blower outside. I was like, you don't want to hear that. I don't understand how after like a year of this, more than a year of this, I still don't understand how these things work.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So it's interesting because I'm all for bipartisanship when we're in the minority and we have to get things passed and we have to find somebody to come to our side, like Bernie Sanders had to do many, many, many times when he would propose legislation. When you got to get things passed or move through or make a point or whatever you have to do to get legislation through, sure, you might have to be friends with someone from the other side for that one goal. But we're in power. There's no need for bipartisanship. We got the power. We fought for the power. We raised the money for the power. The whole country was ignited, largest turnout in history. And that, I think, this dance that President Biden is, I saw this article yesterday where he was quoted basically like saying, calling out Manchin and Sinema. And it's like, you can't just, that's a foil. He's using them as a foil. Don't call it. That's exactly the strategy is, well, we can't get anything done because of these people here. I'm not going to swear here.
Right.
And I think like ultimately, this idea of bipartisanship should only be in our vocabulary when we are in the minority. It should never be in our vocabulary when we have the power.
Because that's where Republicans have it. That's where Republicans keep that conversation. When they're in the minority, then they want bipartisanship. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Nomiki, you pointed out something I think that is very important. And I think I don't understand why in the Democratic Party, when we didn't have the power, we were working a million jobs trying to make sure, hey, we're going to fight this. We're going to do this. We're going to come together as Democrats. We're going to do all of this. We have fought for this power. We have gotten it, no thanks to people like Kirsten Sinema, but for the people who are actually doing the work and who have been out here doing the same thing, pushing for change. And we finally got some change. And now we're screaming for things that aren't going to protect or going to matter to us, the folks who are the people, and the people that we put in place to help us aren't going to help us. And when we see that, and when we see them partnering with those who have literally
working against us
and who have people who have sat in rooms saying that women don't have any authority over their own bodies, right? That the poor don't deserve nothing but to die poor. They don't deserve any money. They don't deserve They've been on that. Now they're taking on people like Kirsten Sinema or partnering with other people that are in this same party of us who have the power right now. And you're so right. Right now, it ain't about bipartisanship. Let's use our power and get things done. And I think that sitting idle on the side, not for everyone, but for people who partner with them, to me, are just like it's a shame. It's a shame, and we have it on the higher level and on the lower level. We have people partnering with the other side, still calling it something liberal, and saying bipartisanship is something liberal. And that kind of conversation, to me, is also very dangerous because it's saying we need to hold hands and we need to kumbaya
with the wrong people.
Other side,
wrong people,
and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, make you get in there on that,
I what I really want to do is I want to sit down in a room with the people targeting Sinema, like the organizations targeting Sinema and Manchin, and come up with some ruthless messaging. Like they should be billed as anti-democracy. We should attach them to every single piece of legislation, common sense piece of legislation that is not getting passed because of their ruthlessness. We should attach them to Marjorie Taylor. We should call them the Marjorie Taylor Greens of our party. And they're literally blowing up our democracy for their egos. This is the kind of warfare. We should call on organizations that helped get them there to defund their campaigns. Because you can't be for abortion rights and then support, Kirsten Sinema. You can't be any of the organizations that have backed her, gotten her into office, continue to get her to office, and still support Kirsten Sinema, because all those donors, all those people, as you said, Rebecca, who've done the work, didn't do it. So some egotistical woman who's like, I don't know, off on a power trip or something. Same thing with Manchin, of course.
Right.
But she's more vulnerable because her state's blue, and her other senator, all the excuses that she used to have, well, we're conservative and I have to do that, that's bullshit. And everybody knows it. And now it's catching up with her because even Mark Kelly is like, I'm not playing that game. I can see where the wind's blowing. I'm not going that way.
Yeah. And essentially, Nomiki, you're saying to call them out. Get up in the room and call them out. We had Cliff Albright on the show yesterday, and he was saying the same thing. We got people in this party that when it's time to get in there and get your hands dirty, they go
Not showing
missing.
up.
So yeah, they're not showing up. They're missing the group text messages saying I didn't get it. And it's funny because it's like we gotta, when we sit in the room, when we see them, it's not to sit in the room and just be like, okay, we're just going to talk about democratic things and what we're supposed to do for our party, how we're supposed to look, while we got the enemy, while we got the Judas in the damn room. We got to call them out.
They
have
feel
to
more
call them
comfortable.
out.
Why is it that there's a faction of every group that feels comfortable sleeping with the enemy? Because let's be real, Republicans are not playing around. And actually, let's bring it down to another level. Let's bring it down to the media, social media level, because this reactionary movement across the globe is not playing around. The alliances that are being formed, where you have done away with identity, because now anything related to identity is bad, right? You're not showing any empathy to people. You're really stripping these movements down to nothing but pure reactionary politics. But we see there seem to be people who are allies with ours, quote unquote allies of ours, who are happy reaching across the aisle to work with right wingers to get some imaginary goal that they never seem to get. We never seem to get what we go into the relationships for, Nomiki. They always seem to get their goal. Talk about that for us.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this goes back to kind of the assault on unions. Started almost a half a century ago at this point. And, think about that. When labor was weakened in this country and stripped, the Democratic Party as a whole just changed, functionally changed, behaviorally changed. And so we've lost those instincts. I mean, even labor now has changed. Aside from this, you don't bargain with the enemy and just say, okay, fine. That's not what a strong union, a militant union does, and that's not what a strong party does that really believes. I mean, if this faction that's supposedly left, right, which I don't buy, and I think that's starting to catch up with them, but if this faction that is supposedly left that's dancing with the right really is, doesn't want to talk about identity and just wants to talk about economics, great, let's talk about economics. Oh, crickets.
They don't even want that.
Not at all.
They're not. And I know we're jumping back and forth between multiple levels here, but I think it's the same. When Kyrsten Sinema goes over there to work with Republicans, they don't get what Democrats want. We get what Republicans want, period. And when we have factions on the left that jump across the aisle and work with right wingers and conservatives and libertarians in order to get whatever the goal is for that particular week, right? We never get what we want out of the deal. The conservative side, the reactionary side, the people who have no problem with gunplay because they believe in their Second Amendment right. Those are the people who kind of win these revolutions after these revolutions are fought. So it operates on multiple levels, but it's the same result from Kyrsten Sinema down to people who want to make alliances with the right.
And go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rebecca. Go ahead.
So I want to take it back to the social media. I know, Ben, you were saying there's so much that we can't and can do on social media when we talk about this particular discussion, when it comes to bipartisanship, when it comes to separating ourselves from those in our same party because we don't align with that. And I know that I've seen you and Ben have the conversation where it's like, oh, hold up. We don't, just because she's blue doesn't mean I am too. Right. So in those moments though, are you guys willing, both you and Ben, I guess I'll ask that too, but are you guys willing to lose that audience and lose those people to fight for something that I don't know why seems so radical?
But it's just right. It seems
to be
normal
on the right side of things. But does it stir up a lot of things for you where it comes to your platform and things like that because you are speaking against people like Kyrsten Sinema?
Well, Nomiki, you want to go first? Which side of it do you want to take? How we lose audiences with liberals or how we lose audiences with people who think they're more radical than us? Which one do you want to argue? Because we lose both.
Because of your audacity to speak against blue.
I mean, listen, I lost all of my centrist liberal friends that I had, whatever, because prior to Bernie, the world looked different. Post Bernie, a lot of people don't answer my phone calls. But that's been gone for a while.
Yeah.
I think, Yeah, I mean, you know, some people, it depends on what you're doing this for. Are you doing this for change? Are you doing this for your ego? Are you doing this to build an audience? Are you doing this to make money? And if you kind of, at least as a host, I guess is how I look at it, if you go into this with that mindset and you think, all right, I am building this audience and I don't care if it is not 1 million subscribers. I know that my 60,000 subscribers are loyal, consistent, write me notes, say this has changed me. Thank you for, you know, sending me to this organization. Like they're passionate. It's like concentration. It's like drinking watered down juice that's going to cause you, you know, diabetes, or, you know, like a green juice or something with like ginger and like turmeric, whatever. It's like going to like change your life.
I'm just saying.
I know, girl.
You know what I mean? So like you know, I'm not doing it for the same reasons as other people. And I've had to kind of let go of that whole, I'm losing an audience every time someone picks a fight with us.
Yeah.
But I also think it's on us to do what we can to inform people of their strategy. I think a lot of people do not understand that the people instigating these things, I think they're starting to understand, instigating these things have their own motivations. And none of them, by the way, come from the movement. Not one of these people come from any movement of any sort. And so I have never seen one of these people show up to anything. And so they can say, I'm a Democrat or whatever they want to say, CIA, all this crap that they do. That's cool. I'm cool. When we were trying to, you know, pass Medicare for all, you want to care about Medicare for all? Let's just use that as an example that everybody knows. A few years ago, when we were all going up and down the coast of California with the National Nurses Union,
Yep.
Were you there? Were you there at the multiple rallies with NNU? Were you literally like getting burned out in the sun as we were fighting hard to elevate this into the Democratic Party with per Bernie Sanders and NNU's advice to get it in the platform to reveal, basically we knew we were going to lose, but to reveal the weakness of the other side? You know, don't play this game now. You know, you never.
It's the, and again, what's amazing about it, Nomiki, is that it is the same. It's the same game being played. Come back to the 3-shot for us. Thank you. It's the same game being played. It's the game of Rebecca, you said it. It's the divide and conquer game. It is the same technique. It's the same tactic that we see. The role that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are playing. They are there simply to divide and conquer on behalf of who? That's who you have to ask. We have to ask ourselves the question, who are the beneficiaries of the divisions that are happening right now? Yeah. Who are the beneficiaries of the left being divided? Who are the beneficiaries of the Democratic Party being divided? And to be honest with you, it's pretty clear on both sides. It's the establishment in general. Like this is not, you pointed it out. It's not for Joe Biden to call out Kyrsten Sinema. It's for Joe Biden to get these Democrats in line so that they can get something accomplished. But by not actively getting them in line, it benefits the way things are right now. It actually benefits this establishment. And I wonder how many people actually are going to be willing to deal with that inconvenient truth.
I think people are starting to wake up to it. I mean, I'm noticing more normie Democrats are aghast by what's happening with Manchin and Sinema. I think the filibuster, you know, a lot of former like Obama administration people and Harry Reid people, you know, some of them written books on the filibuster. There's been so much blame on the filibuster for so long that now it's actually like on the line, and they're like, wait, who's holding it up? This person I like maxed out. So I
Exactly.
All those donations, and that person has actually fought against what you sent them up there to do.
And then they get on air or they do their interviews and they're saying, you know, I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior. I am the one that is going to protect this party. And it's like, we literally just watched you like mock the fact that people deserve higher wages.
$15. Yeah, run that clip when we reference that. Always run that.
Every single time she speaks, this is what people need to see.
Yes.
Not her with her little bob trying to look meek and Karen-ish. I don't care about that. I don't care anything about that. This is who she is. Every time I see her, she's disrespectful. She doesn't want good for the people. And there are so many more people who have positions like her, and there are so many people on the lower level who are working as your doctor, who are working as your boss at whatever corporation you're at and treating you the same exact way.
Mm.
And
Right.
then saying that they're liberal, that they are for the people, that they
Oh.
want everybody to be together. I got black friends. I got brown friends. You
Oh,
know,
God.
I don't want the wall in Mexico, but I don't think that people deserve
I would have
$15.
voted for Obama a third time.
I would have
Oh,
voted
yeah.
for Obama a third
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's those people. And it's like, now I need you to shake it up a bit, because when people are fighting for something, where are you on that spectrum? Are you still here in the 1990s and not saying nothing as a Democrat, not making no moves, just sitting? No, we don't do that anymore. We've
Yeah.
been fighting, we've been pushing. There has to be change. And that's the only way this is going to work. And where are you on that spectrum? And your fight could look different, but how are you fighting? How are you fighting?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, Nomiki, listen,
conditions.
thank you so much for coming and spending this much
Can I add
time
one
with us.
thing?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know you have my friend Senator Jabari Brisboard on, and I do think
Yeah.
that there's a really great example of this divide and conquer tactic happened in New York, and I think the strategies that were used in New York can be used against Manchin and Sinema. And I'm talking about this thing called the Independent Democratic Conference, where there are 8 senators, Democrats,
mhm.
who are mostly Democratic districts, who are caucusing with Republicans. This was all designed by Andrew Cuomo. And those 8 Democrats in a Democratic state where we should have had a supermajority were holding up legislation. And we would just go out there and list off, they're holding up the codifying Roe v. Wade. And we started getting to the normie Democrats who were like, wait, what? I thought we were in a Democratic state. I had no idea my senator was literally caucusing with Republicans and got bigger offices, et cetera. So Jabari Brisport was part of that slate of, I mean, he was not running against an IDC member, but he was part of the slate of progressives that got elected. And I'm sure he can, I don't know what you're going to speak to him about, probably the Health Act, but
no, we'll definitely, we'll dig into that. And I see, thank you for bringing that up, because there's a lot of places where that overlaps with all the problems that we're facing from the international stage all the way down to social media. Nomiki Konst, thank you so much for joining us.